All right. Make sure you guys can hear me here. Looks like you can. And what are we working on today? We are doing some building of labs for Killercoda and for the Professional Linux Users Group, kind of the community at large. And I've been meaning to build more of these kind of as I go, but I hadn't been building as much, so that's what we're gonna start doing. Boris, with your resubscription, I appreciate that. It keeps everybody motivated around here, so that's always fun. Also, you don't get ads for another month, so that's pretty cool. We're gonna do here. Actually, let me see what's going on here. Why does that look like that? There we go. All right. We've got 28 labs. The one we did most recently was we built one down here at the end, which was we started to call them troubleshooting. So let's do Linux troubleshooting and LSOF. And it doesn't necessarily have to be troubleshooting for these. However, that's kind of what we're numbering the 400s at. So I got to kind of think of where I want to put this next one. It's either going to go at the end of this one and become 10, or it's going to come down here after 400 and be troubleshooting. I think this one's kind of just doing Linux, so we'll probably just add it here as number 10. So here's what we'll do. We'll grab our conditional loops, copy that guy and paste him in here, and then we're going to rename him as number 10. And we're going to call this one package managers. Let's say this, yeah, package managers. That's a good name for it. All right, so we're going to start working on this new lab right now. And that's kind of what I'm working on. That's kind of what we're doing. Camby, how's it going? Over on the YouTube side. Never Fear over on the Twitch side. Yeah, we're just kind of hanging out, not working too hard. Got my music going. For some reason, my music yesterday wasn't staying on. I was doing Pretzel Rocks, which is a service that you can get, and it wasn't continuing the music. It was weird. It would get to the end of a song and it would stop. So we're just playing music off my local machine. Bottleneck, how's it going? So what I'm going to do, if we back up a step, if you guys have never seen Killercoda or how we build the labs for them, all you got to do when you come in Killercoda is say that you want to be a creator. It doesn't cost anything. It's free. If you've got some type of technology that you want to show, other people, and you want a platform to do it, that's what Killercoda does. Here's the different environments you can use. They've got some really awesome environments. I mostly only use the Ubuntu or the Cube ADM 2 nodes. The reason I use the 2 nodes is just because a lot of the Linux stuff we do is to talk to another Linux box, and it's useful for that. You can see that right here in our setup.sh. Oh, nope. Index.json. This is a Cube ADM 2 node right here. So that's the one that we're using. So, excuse me, if you ever see this and you're like, man, how do I reference these different things to build these environments? This is where it is. They've got this right here, Killercoda creators. But even more than that, if one of you were to say, hey, I want to go build labs and have fun and that kind of stuff, you can always just go to like my GitHub or many other GitHubs that are out there, and you can find where we have our Prolog labs, and all of the stuff that I'm working on over here is actually in a public repository over here. So this right here is literally just a Git project, right? Over here. Hey, Enzo Bear, how's it going? So my point is, if you wanted to reference or you wanted to know how to do any of this stuff, you have everything that you need over here to do that. So I just want people to know, pretty much with all the stuff that I do, how accessible these things are. Like Linux in general, very accessible. But if you need to get into Linux and you're struggling, here's Killercoda, which is a free site that'll get you into a Linux shell and teach you how to start doing the basics. And then if you're like, well, I understand the basics and I want to show somebody this particular tool that I have, like maybe one of these guys with like Argo. Argo's one that people are talking about a lot. So you're like, well, two people built Argo stuff, so I can go in and go look at the different labs that people have put together. Oh, it's yeah, this site is free. Like I tell people all the time, I don't get anything out of it except like they don't pay me anything. I'm just a guy that's out here building labs for people because this is easier to get you guys into this environment than it is to get everybody in like a virtual environment. Oh yeah, I mean we could build virtual machines and we can connect to systems and stuff. But this is cheap and free, and I could get all you guys in the same lab, and then we could be sitting there working on the exact same topics, which is by far my favorite thing. Some of you guys have heard me talk about, like with my college students, if I put 30 college students in VI, I know what I'm going to be doing for the next hour, and that's getting people out of VI. Well, it's the same thing if I tell 30 college students to build a server. I'm going to be working on servers for the next 2 hours. We're not going to be doing anything actually related to Linux. Yeah, okay, yeah, sure, building servers, this and this and this, but like tripping over like the difference between like how you're partitioning your systems, that's useful for troubleshooting later on when you're in your career, but that's not useful right now when we just need to get down to the command line and start doing stuff. Does that make sense? Like I kind of feel like it's like the number of commands per hour you put in and how much you're absorbing back out. It's better to be just in a command prompt doing something in my estimation. At least that's my experience of, teaching over 5,000 college students now, as far as that goes. So, yeah, it can be. I like doing this stuff. This stuff is it's fun for me as well. So, let's do something real quick. We have this 10 package managers as a name here. Let's say rename, but not really do anything except we want to come in here and capture the name, Control C. We're not actually going to rename it. And we're going to go down to the bottom here of our system, go to structure.json, and we're going to add this one right here as number 10. All right. So if we do that and we add that correctly, make sure everything's right, make sure you have your comma because this is JSON. You're going to hit Control S if you're using a tool like VS Code. You can do this anywhere you want. I just happen to be using VS Code for it because it's a kind of easy way to keep track of it. Now, that's part of the structure, and that's going to come up here as package managers, right? So we're going to go in here, and we're going to adjust first this part. So we'll say, let's do Linux, and this is going to be software. Let's say software and package managers, right? And then down here we're going to say this will be DPKG, so maybe using DPKG, and then repositories. All right, let's say apt using DPKG apt for installing software. And then do we want a third one? Let's think if we want a third one or not. We could say app for installing software, and then maybe configuring repositories. Let's do that because that'll be a good third one. So using DPKG, app for installing software, and then configuring repository. I think that's a good high level outline of what we're kind of doing. Oh, never fear. They mentioned it. So Never fear said he wanted to know what their background was, or what they're using. I could tell you all the stuff they're using right here. So we had the other day, one of our is off topic. No, it was on maybe general. I did it. Hold on. These guys. No, it wasn't under general. Um, oh, it was under labs. Hold on, it's under labs somewhere. Killercoda labs, wasn't it? Shit. Well, I have no idea where it was. Anyways, the other day we got mentioned on by Kim Woostekamp, who runs the site. Um, and where the fuck was that? I don't know where he mentioned it, but anyways, he mentioned I dropped it up in the Discord, and where I'm going with that is he tells you in there all their backend, what all their stuff is. He tells you how they built it. He tells you what they use. I know the main thing that they're using is KubeVirt. KubeVirt is an open source project. If you guys have never seen this, KubeVirt is just a way to virtualize. If you can't put something all the way down in the container, it's a bigger workload. It still needs to be in some kind of virtualized machine. That's the idea of a KubeVirt usage. And yeah, here's it being run on Killercoda. But they obviously, if we're trying to teach somebody Linux, you can't be down in a container that's only mimicking Linux. So we want to get people closer to, actually being in real Linux, so they build real virtual machines for them. And then they have just different stuff, and you can go. So kubevirt.io is great. They are. I've stood this up, and I haven't really used it much. I've thought about using this in our lab, and then doing something similar to like what Killercoda is, where I kind of build a machine only for that use, and then when somebody disconnects it, restarts the machine and reallocates. That's probably more efficient for what we want to do. But in our lab environment that people can get into for the ProLug labs, the reason I built actual virtual machines and then we use Werewolf and we tear them down and build them back up is that's easier for me to manage like disk backends and other kind of stuff like that. Is it DevOps? Okay, thank you. Yeah, I couldn't remember where I put it. It's here. Okay. Good. So the question was, where's the back? Oh, yeah. And by the way, I like when people are talking about all this stuff. Like, this means people are working on stuff. I think that's good. But here's the post from him. And they've had 9 million virtual machines created, 6 million scenarios started. So that's because sometimes there's 2 virtual machines per scenario, and 300,000 users. And for some of you guys that don't know, if you run this, if you build labs, right, so you do this for fun and you get in to start building labs, one of the cool things about being a creator is they show you all of your activities. So I can see in my environment, right, how many people have started in the last 6 months these labs. So February we had about even with January. We don't really have any data for March yet because today's March 1st, but I can see, people have been doing over 100 a day on average. Here's our starts per day, and then the valleys and the peaks. I'd say we have a little over 100 average a day, and that feels good to me. I can see what labs people are doing more than others. People are always starting with the HashiCorp Playground and installing Vault. Those are very common ones that I built. And down here I can actually isolate any one. So if I just wanted to see just HashiCorp Playground or any of that. So they've got a pretty cool little thing. Also, they've got a service. If you ever go in there, they've got a Slack channel. You can drop in their Slack even if you're not a developer or creator form. You can, at any time inside of Killercoda, they will send you the logs. They have to manually pull them, so it takes like a few hours. Like, you just say, hey, will you guys send me those logs? And they'll send them over, and I can get all this data. So I have in the past, like because this is only for the last 6 months, but he's shown me the stuff. They've sent me the stuff all the way back to the start of when I started building them. So it's kind of cool. Kind of fun little thing. All right. So let's get back into building our labs out, because that's really what I'm kind of working on. So here's my scenarios. You're going to see here that the last time we did anything on here was the 24th. That was the last time I was building anything, so that makes sense. So let's get over here. Let's get out of here. And we're over here building number 10 package managers, and it's going to go into Linux labs. It's going to be our 29th Linux lab. And it's going to drop in when we're ready right here after conditions and counting loops, right? So I'm going to number it as 10 here, and it's going to go just after. It doesn't, now the numbering is just for me over here. The structure is what defines the order. So I could move this package managers wherever I want. If I thought 10 package managers was better up here by, you know, like the 5th one, the numbering doesn't really matter. I could move it up there whenever I wanted. Does that kind of make sense? So that's what this structure.json does, is it controls your order of pathing and all that kind of stuff in this section here. Because what used to happen back in the day, yeah, when I started building these about 2 years ago, it was ordered like this. So I used these numbers to order things the way I wanted. And then probably about a year and a half ago, they added, hey, if you want to do this structure, you can. But the problem was, until I did it, these got moved out of order, and I didn't like the order it was anymore. Because I want people to just be able to go through and click in order and have some kind of structure to what they're doing in my labs, right? Like, if you just stumbled upon these labs and said, hey, this guy Het's going to try to teach me some Linux, I don't want people to be like, well, you know, he started off with NFS, and, you know, NFS is way down here. I don't want it to be like that. I want it to be, you know, start at the beginning, because that's a good place to start, right? So anyways, let's get back up here. Let's go look at our package managers a little bit. Take our structure JSON out. I need to Control S to save this. If you guys have never used this, when you've got the little dot there, you need to save it. If you've got that, you can just close it whenever you want. It's been saved. So we've got these things here. There's a couple of other things that happen. This is the index.json. This kind of controls the whole page. We do want to say, let's do Linux. That's fine. We can say software and package managers, fine. Using DPKG, good. And then apt for installing software, that'll be good. And then configuring repositories. This is going to be us stealing some other stuff, but I think this will be important for people to kind of dig in on the repository side of things. So, okay. Let's so we'll call this good for now. We're going to use 2 nodes. We could probably just go with the one Ubuntu node, because we're not necessarily using a different system. So if I'm going to do that, I'll show you guys real quick. I might go here and say, oh, I don't remember how to set Ubuntu. So I'll go figure it out right here if I had forgotten. I remember how, but if I did, here it is, just Ubuntu. So I can just change this right here, and this will become a single node environment. Meaning it won't be control plane in node 01, which we're used to. It will now be just Ubuntu when we log into it. And we're okay with this. We like this. That's a working little thing for us. And I'm going to go ahead and hit Control S here, and that's good. And then we can go into, what's our intro.mid? It says, welcome to Prolog Linux, sure. And here's our setup. Do we need to install any of this stuff for this lab? I'm going to go ahead and leave these, because maybe they're important to have in the background. So that's fine. We'll leave those just in case we need that software. We could just wipe this and not do anything with this, but that's fine. Let's come in here to step 1. And let's go close out index.json, because this has all the things we want in it. Yep, good. And then we're going to go to step 1. And step 1 says your new systems administrator or company. You've decided, okay, so we're going to change this. You need to better understand the software that is installed on the system. You also need to better understand how to install software and where that software is coming from. Okay. You decide to start by looking at a server to see what software package information you can discover. Hack the planet. Yeah, so this course, so that's a 2-part question. Hold on real quick. this stuff has always been over here. But you're talking about the Linux Systems Administration. Yeah, we've actually got a group of guys and gals, I guess, but I think it's only guys right now, who they run the writer's room, which is coming up in about 2.5 hours. And these guys are working on putting the Linux sysadmin course into, and the security course that's coming up, into a book that's free for everybody off of Discord. So yes, there is a book in work to pull everything down. I know those guys have been working on it for the last few weeks, and they've just been kind of compiling this big old mess that I originally dumped on everybody, right? Because I've always shown you guys, this is where you go, and this is where you go get everything from the last course, right? And everything was up here, and like you had to go to Unit 13, and which, by the way, this was great. When we were doing the labs, when we were doing the Linux Systems Admin course, this was a great way to do it, right? We just deployed stuff as I built it, right? And then everybody went and did their labs. But for the future course, which, by the way, is starting, the next course is starting on March 22nd, completely free course. You guys can just go hang out in Discord and do it. It's 16 weeks long. We got 39 people coming for now. We had 208 last time, so we only had about 9 or 10 finished, somewhere in there. I don't know, somewhere between 8 and 10 people finished it. I don't remember exactly, but I would like everybody to finish it, but it is a challenging course. There's a lot of stuff. But the guys are making it easier. That's what's happening. Now, that is in GitHub, but I don't know exactly the state of that. So if I go here to GitHub, this is part of this. And then we think you're going to like it here. Let's look at our repositories. Yeah, so these guys were doing LAC, which is, I think, Linux admin course. And then there's some certs that were generated for the people that already finished. And then there's some other stuff going on. There's also the website. I think I need to re-pull this. Treasure was telling me I need to re-pull this because we do have a site, right? Boom. And you guys can go there and you can see different information about the system. But anyways, back to this. The course I don't think is quite ready yet, but the book will be generated here, and then you guys will be able to just download the whole book. So yeah, to answer your question, the book is coming, and is that the kind of stuff? Also, 10 years administering engineering Linux. So I'm actually at about 22 years, in case people were wondering. I've been doing Linux for about 22 years professionally, and I've been teaching it for 16 years. So, look, guys, I don't care about this stuff. Like, getting the right stuff about me is less important. Just like history and systems, that's less important than knowing how the system works, right? But the point is, this is coming, and then we will get that stuff going. Yeah, and Noah is such a small part of what I build. I build so many things now. But this book is going to be free for anybody that wants it, and I think that's going to be pretty cool little project. Anyways, let's get back to this. Let's build this stuff a little bit. That's the goal here, is building stuff, right? Hey, Robodom's back. How you doing, Robodom? I was you should have seen me frantically yesterday, Robodom, trying to do all my like I was giving a shout out to fishermen, and I was doing all this stuff manually, and I'm like, oh, it's always good when Robodom's around. Are you you're off work today, right? Because you start work Sunday through Friday normally, right? I want to say your Saturdays are off. But we're not working too hard today. We're building more labs out. You were at work yesterday? Okay, good. Yeah, I'm actually working all this weekend. I just thought I'd hop on here a little bit and do some fun stuff. So, yeah, guys, if you don't know, Robodom's one of our I'd say he's one of our oldest, not oldest members, but like oldest members since I started streaming for sure. We've got members that have been around a long time, but since I started streaming, Robodom's been kind of with me the whole time. And then also, real quick, as a quick plug, if you guys don't know, we've got a section here of the course, or section here of our Discord, that talks about upcoming events. And where the heck is that? Sometimes it's under volunteering, sometimes it's under conferences, but there's an event coming up. There's always events coming up. Monster Scale Summit's coming up in a couple weeks. That's a free one. You guys can go there. But the one that I know Robodom's always super involved in is the Social Linux Expo Scale. So if you guys have never been to Scale, let me link this. This is I want to say they're about $50 to go to. Maybe between 50 and 90 bucks. But if you're out in the California area, this has been going for like 23 years or something. Scale has been around a long time, and Robodom's always out there at that. So if you find Robodom and get a picture with him and post on the Discord, I'll do something like a humble bundle or something. Like I'm always giving away like humble bundles for little bounties like that. But yeah, if you catch a Robodom out in the wild, you can have something like that. Also, if you go to this event and you just write up kind of the stuff that you did, and then you're going to manage the room. Yeah, Robodom, you're in charge of the whole thing nowadays. Yeah, you're going to be in charge of everything. But if you guys go to this and you just write up like what speaker you went and saw and that kind of stuff, I also do stuff like that where, you know, you write that up down here in conferences and I'll send you a humble bundle of your choice. You just find some technology thing or something that's interesting to you and let me know. I always have bounties like that going. So, yeah, anyways, these are the people that are talking about the technology and the things that are out there. Here's the people that are going to be there. Look at the platinum sponsors. You got companies that are kind of moving and shaking and doing stuff, and it's just a good Linux weekend. If I hadn't already volunteered, I'm going to be at a wrestling camp that weekend. I'm going to be in California. I'm actually going to be in Los Angeles, but I'm not going to be able to make it to this. So, Haplo, how's it going? Been a while.
I was supposed to go to Scale 18 Next with the Linux Gamecast folks in 2020, and needless to say, my work said this COVID thing is picking up. You must stay home. I haven't had a chance to go back frown.
Haplo, look, go this year. Go catch a Robodom in the wild, and I'll make it worth your while. No, it's fine. He actually is okay with pictures, so yeah, if you go catch him, it's not like he's a Pokemon or something. It's not like you're gonna have to trap him in the corner with like 3 of you and then get pictures of him or whatever. He's pretty approachable. So, but yeah, this is still going. If you guys, so as Haplo said, he was supposed to go back in 18, which was, well, scale 18 was in 2020 with the whole COVID thing. But yeah, they're picking up. They're live. You guys can go to them, and you know, we've sponsored people to go to this before. You know, if a member of our community is in that area, but you know, there's something prohibiting them from going, which because there is some cost involved, you just reach out to me and let me know. Like if you're already in that area and like that's going to be the thing that's going to break it for you, just let me know, and we'll work that out with the Linux group here. So, all right, so let's get back over here to this. Let's clean up. We're writing our new lab, right? So over here on the left it says your new systems administrator at a company. That's all how most of my labs start. You need to better understand the software that's installed on your system, and you need to better understand how to install software and where the software is coming from. You decide to start by looking at a server and see what software package information you can discover. All right, so let's go we're going to jump into one of my other labs and use this as our kind of example. Hey, thanks for those bits, Robodom. Hopefully this stuff's useful to all of you guys. Robodom's been around long enough, I know it's useful for him, so he doesn't get my normal line about it. But so we're over here, and as you can see here, this system is just called Ubuntu. I'm going to link this to you guys if anybody wants to follow along with kind of what I'm doing. However, with the caveat, I am not doing this lab right now from this perspective. Look, this is the same type of idea. You guys are welcome to do this lab while we're sitting here and look at all this cool stuff, right? And actually do that lab. I'm merely using this lab as a framework for me building this stuff over here on the left, if that makes sense, right? Hopefully that makes sense to you guys. I've got this kind of stuff going. Oh, you know what? I need to check real quick too. Hold on, Robodom, that reminds me. I need to go check on leanpub.com. Let me just go leanpub. I got to go check something real quick. As you reminded me there, in the course. Hold on, I think books. Nope. Give me 1 second here. I gotta find this thing real quick, because I need to go under author, and then books. I gotta go find something real quick. I want to make sure that that link is still good, because that was book. Prologue. Go to store. Give me 1 second here, guys. I want to make sure that the because those coupons that when you make those little coupons, they exist only for a little while. I did make that holiday book sale end, but since I didn't change it, I'll just make that thing good until the end of March. There we go. Update coupon. All right, good. There we go. All right, yeah, sorry about that. I think that that link that you put, Robodom, only went until yesterday, and I had forgotten about that. So I'll put that. I'll fix that. Anyways, all right. So let's get back over here. So we don't want to do any of this stuff. We're gonna go ahead and say something like list all the let's just say to start, list all the packages on the system, right? And how would you list all the packages on a system? You would use a tool like DPKG with a -L, right? So DPKG over here, I'm gonna shorten this down because I don't care about this part as much. DPKG -L is going to tell you all the stuff that's on the system. It's going to start out up here at the top and say the status of things and if there's any errors and names. And after the first 5 lines or so, we're going to get to the name of services, the name of software that's installed. We can see the -II, which tells us that it's installed, and we can see the architecture that it's been built for, which is either AMD 64, which is a 64-bit architecture, or all, which means that it would work with a 32-bit or a 64-bit architecture. App does as well, likely, Hack the Planet, and I'm going to do, so I'm going to do all the DPKG stuff first, and then I'm going to do all the apt stuff after. Apt will also tell you, I'm sure there's some way to search with apt. I don't know if I've ever even used it for that. I always just use DPKG to kind of see what's going on. We could read the man on apt and see search list. So I may be able to say, excuse me, I may be able to use apt list and then -- installed as well. And maybe get away with something like that. And we can compare. So this will be a fun one right here. Yeah, sorry, you had just put it on there, Hack the Planet. But yeah, that's I was just looking in the man pages, right? I tell you guys all the time, like looking at the man pages is a great way to figure things out. So let's compare them. And they're so long that the best way to compare them for me is to use a tool like word count -L and say, okay, this is approximately 725 or so packages on my system. And you say, well, where are you getting 725? Well, I'm taking off like 4 or 5 for the header at the top, if you recall. So maybe 724 would be the most precise. But let's compare that to this one, which was apt list installed, and do a word count -L on that one, and that one says 724. So okay, so that gives us a a pretty good idea of what's installed on our system, right? And the pipe to word count -L is just a nice way to say, well, I'm dramatically bad. I'm traumatically and dramatically bad at counting things like this. Like, could you imagine just sitting here watching me go 721, 722, 723, 700, like getting all the way up there would take forever, right? But our system's really good at that, and they can take the piped output that was coming to standard output and send it into the standard input of the next command, and it builds basically like these filters for us where we can squeeze the output the way we want. Again, this dumped way too much crap to the screen for us to process as humans, just too much info. And we use our tooling, like pipes and redirects, in this case it's a pipe, to capture standard out and throw it into the standard input of another command, right? So these are things that we can do. So dpackage -L, list all the packages on the system. And then I say use Q to exit. How many packages do you have? If you do not want to count them all, use something like this. And this would be our DPKG-L, word count-L. And then now I'd say how many, approximately, how many packages do you have? And again, if somebody said 729, they wouldn't be wrong because according to the rules of approximation, you're within a rounding error. So that's not that big of a deal, right? As far as that goes. All right. So anyway, so we're over here. We're still building kind of some of our lab information. And can you find all the packages that have something to do with SSL? And how might you do that, right? Like if you're trying to do DPKG-L, which lists everything, how might you find all the packages that have something to do? You know, that's going to dump everything. But how am I going to use that to find all the packages that are associated or have something similar to SSL in there? Yeah, we could grep. Grep is a great tool for us to search things. And I may even say grep-i SSL because maybe I want to ignore case. Like, we wouldn't have found this SSL without the -i, right? And then we could even play around with like word count-L here and word count-L here and see if we get a different output. And then now, again, this lab isn't about, the lab that we're writing over here isn't about whether or not grep-i is important to use or not. But this is one of these things where sometimes you want to see everything and sometimes you're less concerned with it, right? Yeah, so here you're actually finding things with the capital SSL. You're finding descriptions up here, which are not necessarily even in this one here and this one here. Like, these are not actually just the installed packages, right? So how many installed packages do we have total? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, right? And then this other information is... oh, they're still the same line, so that's fine. It didn't affect the overall count. So, anyway, so we're not going to split those hairs necessarily, but yeah, we'll say grep-i SSL just for fun here. Yeah. How many packages have SSL in their name or description, right? And then you would have that. This is, again, for you guys, this is more for you to kind of think through the answers, whether or not you choose. Like I know Unix admins that have been around way longer than me doing this that insist you don't always use the -i. You sometimes don't want it, and they're correct. But me, I'm just so used to using a -i, you guys will sometimes see me use it with numbers. Does the -i actually help you with numbers? No, God, no. Like you'll see me do this. Like I'll do ss-ntulp grep-i for like 22, and you'll be like, you didn't need the I, and I'm like, I'm just so used to writing it, right? But it doesn't affect some output, and sometimes it does. So it's good for you guys to kind of know how this works as far as that goes. All right. So how many packages have SSL in their name or description? In our system, it happens to be 10 in their name or their description, right? So we know that. And then we could maybe dig in and say... I want to say there's a... Let's go look at... I wonder if there's a... package states. That's funny. I never even thought about package states. Like there's different states that the package could be in, so that's good. But I want to find, so dash I is install. If you want to install things, sure. Unpack, configure, triggers only, remove. So there are all these other things we could also show and do. We could verify things. We can audit, which might be good. I want to see if they have package availability, get selections, set selections clear. I want to see if add architecture, remove. We don't want to do any of these things right now. I want to see if there's validate, compare. If they have something similar to like what we have in RPM, where we can just see all the information. Here we go. DPKG. So select the package. Right. So select the package you find. Let's say OpenSSL. So I'm gonna say select the package OpenSSL and look at its information. And look at, let's say, so that's gonna be something. Whoops. That's gonna be something like this. But let's verify over here. Clear the screen. DPKG dash capital I open SSL. What? Let's see. Am I losing my mind? Wonder if we need the whole. No, we shouldn't. Yeah, I mean that should work. All right. Maybe we need the full version on there. Bite Chipper, how's it going? Yeah, I haven't I mean I was out for most of this week. I was on a little bit yesterday, but yeah, Bite Chipper, you might have been gone even longer than that. It's been a while. But no, I was mostly off a lot of this week. Well, I was working a lot, but I just wasn't around. Let's see why is this? I wonder if we need the full name. But that, I mean, that kind of thing shouldn't matter. Like, I should just be able to do, like, libcurl. Maybe I do need the full path. Yeah, we did networking yesterday. It was heavy networking day. Wonder if I need like the full. I didn't think we ever needed the full package name like this, but I mean, I guess. Let's I'm interested why that's not. So maybe we need the full. Let's see. Let's give it a name like this. Let's see. Doesn't read that, but does it read this then. That's super weird. Let's try the same. Let's try our Bang 9. And then we're going to change installed to so I wonder that would have been the full path. Huh. That's super strange. Yeah, I don't use DPKG enough. Let's see. Let me see over here. Oh, well, it's possible from the old internet. Is there all right. That's what the old internet tells me to try. Yeah, I don't see any other. We can remove things. We can list things, obviously. Let's just do a dpackage-l by itself, and we won't do anything else except that. And then dpackage-i, and we're just gonna say add user. Let's just say. Doesn't find it. So. That's super weird. I obviously have these package names wrong. So maybe I need to add user, do an underscore, give the version, right? And then, because this is, So I wonder if it'll only do the -i if I have the package sitting there, like if I've downloaded the package. Yeah, maybe that's it. So let's go grab an installer real quick. So let's go like one that I know well, DISA Stigs. This is one that I've been working on a lot, and I actually have it in one of my other labs over here, right? So like the different tools that we could use. So we'll hit OK. And let's just say that we wanted to download one of these Stigs real quick. Where the hell are they? I have one over here. We actually install it. Hold on. Here we go. Let's just get the package real quick. Boom. We'll just download this real quick. because then in here, we've got the package right there. So now I'm curious if this will work on this package as it's sitting right here in front of me, you know. There we go. All right. So that's what that package manager wants right there, is it'll look at what's set there. So maybe in the background of this lab, I'll grab that stuff. That'll be part of the download. Yeah. So watch this. This will be. I don't know if I want to tie that to that, because then I'll have to fix this lab every time that changes. Let's think of how to do this easiest. We could just stage one. I don't know the best way to do that. I could stage it in the actual lab. Maybe come back over here. Let's hit Control S real quick. And is there on our apt tool, by the way, there's scale again for people that want to go there. There's our web page. Let's close some of the stuff down that we don't need. What's the best way to do this? So, can we do apt and just download? I have to think of the best way to do that, because we can skip that individual let's just say what packages I sell, their name or description. Suppose you want to know what package installed a certain command. Use dpackage -S to find where a command was installed from. So we're gonna do something like this instead. We'll skip that for now. We'll figure out those other things later. I have the things that I kind of wanna work on now, and let's just say that I did a DPKG-S now, and I wanted to know in my system where we're going to do something like iostat, because I know iostat was just installed at the beginning of this, and iostat here was installed via syststat. DPKG iostat. What package provided now? Some of you, if you're doing this, iostat's not going to come back with anything, because if you don't have syststat on there, iostat won't be there. You could also use, let's just say, who provided SS. SS is a command, and SS came from there's a lot more stuff here. So maybe that's not a good one to use, but there's different things that could have provided that. If I had which SS and then I did user bin SS, that would be user bin SS. Maybe that wouldn't help. All right. Anyways, the point is we won't worry about that one. We'll just use iostat because that one's nice and easy. And then we know that that's good. Hayes, what'd you say? Taking care of music studio stuff, rerouting some synths to the mixer and setting up new MIDI configs. Nice. Tried to install some Python packages last night on various AWS Linux servers and failed. Too much context switching. Got Arduinos to work too. On the AWS Linux servers you had, were they like their Amazon Linux? What, Amazon Linux 3 is out now as of last year. So is that what you were using, Hayes? That sounds like something that could be useful. All right. What package provided iostat on the server? And then I say, what if you knew that sysstat, so sysstat, right, was provided iostat, but you also wanted to know everything else added when that package was installed, or everything else that is provided by sysstat. That would be something like this. So we'll do DPKG. And whoops. I just like spaces. You don't necessarily need spaces. But nobody ever sees the labs over here. They only see them completed over here. So we're going to do a DPKG-L now against sysstat. And that's going to show everything else. So, can you confirm that pidstat is a command that was installed with sysstat? And the answer to that is yes. I would do this. I would do the same exact command right here, and then I would grep right. So I'd do the same command here, and then grep-i for pidstat. And yeah, pidstat and the man pages for pidstat were installed with this system. And then I can say pidstat, maybe 1, and I can see every 1 second what's going on with all the process IDs in the system. Whatever. Boom. Right? So that's, these are things I think that are good to know about DPKG. You can keep digging in further. There's a lot more. So I might say read the man page for more useful information or more useful that can be gathered by DPKG, right? And the man pages are simple. You just come down here and say man DPKG and then use Q to exit, right? So now if that's good, if you've done all those things, then you're pretty much ready to go on to the next part of the lab. So let's see what the verify is for this. The verify for this lab is been true, meaning I don't have anything special. Yeah, Robodom, I'm a big fan. I tell people this, clear. I'm a big fan of reading the man pages if you've never used a tool, because one, you can search for things. So you could just do a / and say like, dash capital S, and it'll take you to where the dash capital S is. It's a search. And then I can hit N to go to the next example of it. There's no other examples. We're good. And then also, if I just hit spacebar and go to the very bottom, sometimes with commands, not all commands do this. Every command's man pages are slightly different. But some commands will give you useful things. Like here's exit status. So if you're going to write this into a script, here's what the exit codes mean. But then down here a little further, some commands will do it. I don't think this command's going to do it. But they'll give a real robust example. Here's the files. This is where all the configuration happens. So this is valuable. And here's the logging. Like, so where's the log at for the things that you've installed, right? So I might hit Q, and then I might say tail-20 on var log dpkg.log, and then you can see what's going on in there. So that may be, actually, we may add that, right? So can you find near the bottom what the log is for, what the default log for DPKG is, right? And then use Q to exit. And then down here you might say read the last 20 lines of the DPKG log. Can you tell when the sysstat so in this says, yeah, can you tell when the sysstat where the heck is that? Can you tell when the sysstat package was installed? Read or query through the DPKG log, so you could read it or query it. And my query for it would look something like this. That's a good additional one there, Robodom. So it would be grep-i sysstat from var log dpkg.log. When did the system install sysstat? Right? And we can see that it was installed about 35 minutes ago when we got into the system, which makes sense because we installed it as part of the lab. Where's the, oh, Hayes, you might have to put that in the Discord. Yeah. Look, guys, there's a lot of ways to get info, and I'm going to highly advise anybody that wants to get in the systems engineering world, make sure you guys just start, like, reading stuff. And then another big part of it, like, I tell you guys all the time, I have learned more by, like, sitting over the shoulder of a Unix or a Linux admin that I work with, because they will do something a certain way, and I'll be like, oh, what was that? And it's always just something that they don't even think about. And it's the same thing when people watch me. They're like, oh, I didn't even think about that before. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I've been using that for years. Somebody showed me one time. And I pick up more stuff watching other people. This is why one of the bad things about systems admin and systems engineering is so many Linux engineers and so many people that work at the command line are, it's almost like they're ashamed to let people see them work. And they don't, and there's no like image, there's no information transfer there. That's one of the reasons I try to show you guys like what we're doing and show you guys command line, because you do learn a lot just watching somebody over their shoulder. You'll pick up a trick that they did, or you'll watch the way that they did something, and you'll just be like, oh, that is kind of funny. We had one. Let's say I was installing a package, and then we were all sitting around and we were going to wait for this package to install. One of the things a guy did one time that was super funny was we said, oh, it's going to take like 5 minutes to run that. We'll just get back to it. And he just went like this. And then he just kept talking to us. We were all sitting there at a terminal. We were like we were all screen, and then we were all attached to the same screen watching. And we're like, what? We all know what sleep is. Literally everybody, doing Linux knows what sleep is. But none of us ever thought while we're sitting here talking, just throw a sleep and then the command. While we're sitting here dicking around and doing whatever and watching Netflix and doing whatever other stuff we're doing, right? And he just did that, and we were like, that's brilliant. So because we knew the package would be ready in about 5 minutes. So he's like, all right, I'll just queue the sleep up now and then do the command. I'd never even thought to do that. So now, like when I do stuff, you guys will sometimes see me just run a sleep before something, and then I'll go about and talk about something else, and we'll come back to it, and that tool will have been waiting for me. The system's way better at waiting than I am. I'm terrible at waiting. I can't even I can't even wait on like the simplest things, right? Like, but the system will wait for exactly 5 minutes and then do exactly what I told it to do. And that kind of stuff is just kind of useful. Ding during a code interview for looking up Python package to use in order to get commands in an API. Yeah, Hayes, I got dinged one time in an interview. Hold on, let me grab some water real quick. Yeah, there's this company out here in Phoenix called LifeLock. Some of you guys may have heard about it before. But 2013-ish or so, I was in there for an interview, and I made it all the way to the top. I was up, I had made it through a few rounds of interviews, and it was me and one other guy. And I found this out later because I didn't get the job. But this is the first time I had ever been asked like an algorithm question. I'm a Linux engineer. I'm a platform guy. I make systems work, right? I'm not a guy who writes O of N fucking algorithms. That's not like what I do. Could I go play around on leak code? Sure. Can I go like as a trained monkey figure that stuff out and watch other people do it until I know it? Sure, but that's not what I do, right? And they asked me this thing, but one of the things they were surprised was when they had me at a command line like this, is I opened up a man page for I was trying to figure out something with I didn't know how the Apache web server did a certain thing with logging. I didn't know how a certain tool works, so I read the man pages, and they're like, nobody's ever opened a man page in front of us. And I was like, have you guys ever had a Linux engineer in here? Because like everybody I know opens like man pages all day, every day. Paul, we're building labs. We're not working too hard. We're just building labs this morning. I'm putting off real work that I have to do for a real job. You guys want a Ranger check? How's Ranger doing? Ranger is out. That's Ranger. He is in one of his 3 beds, but he's really in 2 of his 3 beds. And he looks like he's pretty conked out right now, so yeah, he's pretty good. If you guys don't know, over on the Twitch side, they have a little redeem where they can check on Ranger Dog anytime. So yeah, and then Albert, the PIDstat command, any of those things that come with systat. Systat is an awesome tool to make sure that you have on a Linux box. Just a really good troubleshooting tool for I/O, real-time I/O, and also you can use it to aggregate I/O and that kind of stuff. So systat is one of the just most important tools for me. For like if a Linux box is running fine, I don't need systat on it. It's when I'm starting to get performance issues against one of the big 4. Of course, you guys know the big 4 are process, memory, network, and disk. Should be process, memory, disk, and then network. That's really the order it should go. So processor, memory, disk, network. That's the order of typically utilization of systems, right? And those are what we call the big 4 in the systems world. Man 2 and Man 3. Yeah. Hayes, I don't even know the difference. I just read the man pages. So. Road Dom, you only have 1 bed? Well, Ranger has, look, this bed was too small for him. It's like a little couch bed we ordered for him. I was so excited to get this bed for him. And then it was barely big enough for him. And it wasn't as padded on the bottom as we like, so we just put it on this other bed. And he loves it. He, like, gets up on his throne. It's like you can't see it very well from here, but it's basically a throne. Hold on. I got it right here because I took a picture of him last night to send to the wife, and then I think I sent it to you guys too. This is what that bed looks like. This is exactly how he's laying, in fact, except he's just got his head down. But yeah, that's Ranger. That was Ranger last night, and I sent that to the wife so that she would know that I had fed him and he was happy. But that was him. That's what that also looks like too. He's not a chonky dog. He's actually quite skinny, but he's super flabby because he's old. So like he's the flabbiest fucking dog. Yeah, that's another angle of that bed. Again, the bed's kind of big enough for him. It's not as big as I had hoped it would be. Yeah. It was not as nice as I thought this was gonna be when I ordered it from whatever. Oh yeah, Busted's big old dogs. And then Ranger. I'm telling you, man, Ranger creeps around that corner just like Michael Myers does. How's it going? Where are my teeth? We're working on labs. I'm building out, and then we had a Ranger check. So that's Ranger just from a little bit different angle. And I swear that this bed to me, and I'm colorblind, but I swear it looks different in the webcam than it does the other way. Kilo, no, I don't have an AirTag on him. He's so old, man. Like he barely even he gets up and wanders outside, and then he wanders back inside. But no, I don't have an AirTag on him. No. Oh no. I'm not so high speed to know what an AirTag is even. No. I think I know what an AirTag is, but no, he doesn't. That's just his little thing that says Ranger. By the way, his toys over here, this llama he has had since he was a baby. When I tell you guys that Ranger does not chew on things, I'm 100% serious. He has the same toys. No, this is his giraffe. That's his llama up there. He has the same toys he's had since he was as big as those toys. Isn't that weird? Like, most dogs chew things to shit, right? And forget about them. Ranger has never chewed on anything. That's his little pillow that came with the bed. It's normally on the bed, but he has never chewed on anything. The only thing, in fact, that he's ever really liked to chew on or put in his mouth is tennis balls. No, he doesn't. No, he doesn't even carry it around. It'll be on the bed sometimes. Like I think he gets it and puts it by him, but he does not tear anything up. No, Ranger's never been a chewer. Never in all the world. These are the same two toys he's had since he was a baby. He's got a couple other ones that me and my son have bought for him, but no, he's not a chewer. Put a tennis ball in his mouth though, he would at least use that because he would always chase tennis balls growing up. That was his thing. He's too old now. He won't chase a tennis ball anymore. He's too old to run. He'll just walk after it and then drop it at your feet and not go after it again. But all right, so we've done the depackage part, and I think that's a pretty good start there. So we save all that. It's all saved. And then we're going to go to step 2. And step 2 of the lab is supposed to be about, if we come over here to intro, index, is apt for installing software. So we're going to come over here, and it says here that we're going to use apt to install a package that you need to install packages that you need on the system. Let's say then use apt to download or to download all the updates that the system needs. Then after review, upgrade all the packages on the system and verify that everything worked correctly. Now, this might seem super simple to you guys, like especially you guys that have like let's say you've been doing Linux for a long time and then you're like, oh, I'm just itching to come in here and tell Scott that I use Arch Linux, and I'm like, that's fine, do Arch Linux all you want. But maybe you say, well, Scott, I do apt, update and upgrade all the time. I'm really good at that, in fact. And I said, that's wonderful. But guys, here's the thing. In the industry, when we decide to, put on the pocket protector and go out in the world as actual systems engineers, not just doing it in our home labs, we have to update systems, and this is what sucks as an engineer, and then we have to give it an accounting for what we did. We have to tell the business what packages we installed. We have to answer to the GRC security team. GRC is your governance, risk, and compliance team. That security team's always going to be breathing down your neck for like, what are those 112 packages you just installed? And you're like, you're just like that. What's that meme? Right? You're just like this all the time. But you have to do it, guys. This is why they pay us the good money. Is we can change the system and update it, but we also know how it updated and why. Does that kind of make sense? We're now being professionals about it. And yes, we feel like this literally all the time. If I smoked, this would be me all the time. I don't smoke, but that's how I feel all the time. Yeah, his most notable photo is this. The guy who like has two of like the best looking women ever like fighting over him, and he looks like this all the time because he can't deal with either of them. He can't fucking deal with either of them. I think this was somebody caught him smoking in between scenes of a movie, Hayes. I don't think this is from a movie. I think this was him like just going, oh gosh, I can't stand to deal with Jennifer Lopez another second. Yeah. Anyways, all right. But it's super funny that everybody's got their struggles. I guess he's got the he can't deal with good looking women problem, right? Like most people would want his problem, but all right. So let's clear this screen up. I'm going to reload this lab, and you might say, why are you reloading the lab? Well, it's because we're already we were down to 13 minutes left, so we were going to run out. But if you guys ever do Killercoda, you can just spin up a new lab. They literally don't care. So we're in one of my labs, which is system checking. If anybody wants to be in the lab with me, you can. You can also just do the lab while we're hanging out. You can go play around with that lab if you want. I'm just using it as an environment to build our next lab out. And the next one is we're going to use app to install packages that we need on the system. So let's look at a couple of simple things. So we'll come here and we'll start out by wiping this and saying we need, like, let's say we are starting a new project and you want to run Ansible in a lab environment. Install Ansible and install Ansible on your system, right? And Ansible, an install for Ansible might look something like this: apt-y install Ansible. And then I'm going to ask a bunch of questions about that. So let's go apt-y install Ansible. Let's just do that to start. We might even say this. How long did Ansible take to install? Now, if you do it like I just was saying here, time on the front. Time is one of my favorite commands. You just wrap anything. It's almost like you got a little stopwatch in your hand, and it starts as you hit enter, and it ends as the system finishes. I can't do it again on here because if I did it again, it would come back. But if you ever want to play with time, just do time and then sleep like 10. And what will happen is your system will sleep for 10 seconds, but then time will give you 3 very relevant pieces of information about any command, right? It'll give you the real time, what we call the wall clock time. It'll give you the user time, so time that was spent in user space on the processor or against the kernel, and then system time that was used. And you might rightly say, for that 10 real seconds, this server basically sat there and did no processing within this process that was kicked off. And I would say, yes, that's right. It's 100% right. So, other things. What dependencies were installed with Ansible. Like, because I want you guys to think about this for a second. What dependencies were installed in Ansible? You only told the system to install that one thing. Why did it install all these other things? Well, because it went and it got all the dependencies for you. Guys, I can't emphasize this enough. Package managers make our lives so much easier in the Linux world and in the Unix world back in the day too. But it's the fact that I can just say install Ansible, and I don't need to go get every one of these different dependencies. And you might say, Scott, why are you bringing that up? Because back in the day, there would be a list of packages like this, and the compiler typically as well, and you would have to go make sure you had that version of the compiler and all these packages. And you say, well, did we need all these packages for the software to run right? No, a lot of times you needed that for the make file to run right. It was the make file that used to come with it that needed it. But anyways, like, here's all these things that are needed, and here's suggested things, and then here's all the packages that it's like, hey, I'll add all this for you, right? So, early Slackware days, yeah, absolutely. So, it says 16 newly installed, and 0 to remove, and 208 not upgraded. So the answer to this would be 16 in my case were newly installed. So what dependencies were installed with Ansible? There were going to be 15 newly installed dependencies, but Ansible was the other one. So, look, you're answering this for yourself here. You're not answering it to tell me something. I'm just showing you guys that this is how we would think through it. Now, it says where it went and got those from. So, maybe looking at the Git lines, where did most of these packages come from? And the answer, right, the answer on this one is archive.ubuntu.com, right? So, again, you're just looking at what happened on the system when you hit that button. Most of these came from there, and then it installed and unpacked them and all that kind of stuff. Okay. So you did the install. What information was kept in the log for apt? And the answer to that question looks like this. Tail dash, let's just say tail var log apt. And then in this case would be history, right? History.log. And if you did a tail on it, you would get the last thing that was done. Tail, and we'll just say var log apt history.log. And then okay. Do you see all the packages that you expect from the previous command entered here? So do you see the things that you expect to see? Yes, there were things installed, all this kind of stuff in our system. Used to have to compile Perl into Apache from Perl. Yeah. I used to run LAMP back when LAMP has meant a lot of things over the years. Linux, Apache, MySQL, and it has meant Perl at first, and then later in its life it meant PHP. And in between there, for some time, people meant Python. But LAMP could mean any of those three typically. But early on, it meant Perl. And yes, we used to have to compile Perl into like the Apache mod Perl and make sure that it was working. Because, man, back in the day, guys, we did a lot of stuff in one Linux server. Nowadays, we try to break things out. In fact, we try to break things out so much because virtualization is easier that, we can have 3 servers doing, the front end, the mid tier, and then the data. But then even nowadays, it can be even more granular where we're doing stuff inside of like Kubernetes and microservices and stuff, right? Like there's all this stuff that like makes things and I'm going to put my air quotes up for a second, it makes things easier, but then you also have this problem of, but now troubleshooting is a flippin' nightmare because it went where, it did what, and that's why we have to keep our monitoring tools tight. When I show you guys this stuff with like how we monitor systems and stuff, you got to keep that stuff locked down. And I don't mean locked down like security wise. I mean like you got to keep your stuff on lock. Like it's one of those things like you don't have to get ready if you stay ready type ideas. You got to keep your stuff running. So, okay. So we got that. And do you see all the packages from the previous? Yeah. And that the answer to that should be yes. I think you see the things that you needed. So let's go look at. Let's see if in var cache apt archives, let's see if we see those same packages in here. And the answer really should be yes, we do. So let's see, do I see Python 3 and all these Python 3 things in here? Yeah, there's all those Python 3 things. So let's say I did an ls dash, what is it? L. I gotta read, man. I always forget this one. A is almost. R should be. I always forget. I don't use R very much, but reverse and then T is time. Yeah. So ls dash LRT, right? And it should show. No. L A. No. Hold on. AL. Yeah, maybe I do want the R. ALRT. And we should see the most recent things here. Some of these other things look like they were already there. Anyways. Python. It's interesting to me that these things are here, even though they were just installed here. To Python, DNS Python. That one didn't make it down into the archive. What did I miss? Oh, Payload, how's it going? Hopefully this stuff's useful to you. We are just kind of working on, I'm building labs out. I think we have 63 labs up in Killercoda that people can go play with. They're all free. And then, yeah, let me see. Hold on. I don't see. Is there a config architectural show update, full upgrade, edit sources? I thought there was a way to make sure when you ran apt that it would automatically cache everything, but apparently I don't see that there. Okay, that's fine. I'm not really too worried about that. So there's that. And then the next one would be, let's use, hit Q. Let's say apt cache list. Whoops. I thought it was list. Oh wow, look at that. That's a huge number. We don't want to do that. No, we don't want that. So, let's say, see all the commands from this. So now you want to upgrade. So there's going to be two pieces here. So you want to bring a system up to compliance by upgrading and updating all the software on it. Clear, let's see, check the current cache size and then clear it so that you have no cached, check the current cache size and then clear it so that you have no cached packages, right? And the way we're going to do that in here is we're going to do pwd, and we're in var cache apt archives, and we're going to do du-sh dot to see that we've got 179 megs in here, right? So check the current cache size and then clear it so you have no cached packages. We're going to, cd to var cache apt archives, right? We're going to do a du-sh on dot, and then we're going to rm-rf everything, right? So rm-rf everything, and then du-sh dot. It's completely empty, right? There's nothing really in that directory anymore. So do you now see that your cached folder is empty? The answer, yes. You should see the answer, that's yes. So tell the system to gather a list from all available repositories that are available for update, available to update. And the way we do that command is apt update. So now in this system, I'm going to say apt update, and my system is going to go and it's going to check all of the different configured repositories. We're going to configure repositories in the next part of the lab, step 3. But for now, it says that there's 208 available packages to update. So let's say right here, how many packages so apt upgrade, and then list them out, and we list them out like this. It's apt list upgradable. So we'll just run that command, apt list, apt list. So now it's going to tell us, oh, we need a dash dash upgradable. There we go. Okay. So we can then search through that list if we wanted to, right? So then if I wanted to know, like maybe my security team's coming at me with stuff like, we'll actually say here, your security team has been asking or has been informing you that SSL and Whoa. I don't know if you guys saw that. My screen just flickered over here. Everything went black on all three of my monitors for a second. That was no good. Your security team has been informing you that SSL and SSH are require, packages are obsolete or experiencing or exposed via a high CVSS score. Can you verify that they are going to be upgraded or updated with the next update? Yeah, and your answer to that is yes. It's the same command as before, apt list upgradeable pipe grep-i SSH and SSL, right? And if you did that, your system should then tell you that same stuff you see here. And then, can you tell the security team that you will be updating those packages? And the answer is yes, right? Well, yes is what you should be able to say if you see those packages over there, right? Better get in your stance if they're coming at you, yeah. You guys all know my stance? It's right here. Meet. This is me. Crawl atop me. I thought he said fall atop me. Crawl atop me and meet your doom. He goes, yeah, I thought you'd be coming, so I mastered the art of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Crawl atop me and meet your doom. So that's my, when your guard game's on point but you have 0 takedowns. That's actually really funny. All right. That's enough of that. Crawl atop me and meet your doom. Some people like to wear shirts in the jiu-jitsu world that say, touch me and your first lesson's free. That's actually kind of funny. Yeah, if you guys don't know, I train a lot of Brazilian jiu-jitsu. I've been doing it for a long time. All right. Long time. Like 20-something years long. 22 years now? Yeah. Long time I've been doing that sport. All right, where are we at here? Imagine a Chuck Norris stance with your chest here. That's funny, where are my teeth? They were trying to convince me yesterday to do a hot tub or a bathtub stream, and I'm like, yeah, I don't think Twitch is ready for that, and I also wonder how many terms of services that'll violate in the Twitch world if I were to do that. Yeah, no, trust me, you're not sorry to have missed that one. But maybe one of these days I will do, not that, don't know, gosh, no, I'm not going to do that. Maybe one of these days I'll do something with, you know how people do like subathons at the end of a month or something? Tape the nips and you'll be fine. Yeah, that'll make it legal if I tape over everything. All right. Let's keep going on this lab then. So again, guys, we're just over here on the right building out what's going to be a lab for people. And then on the left, the lab actually is all written in Markdown. We write our labs in Markdown for Killercoda, and then they get updated to the system. So if any of you have ever thought like, oh, I have something interesting to teach people how to do inside of the systems world, Killercoda is a great lab, great space. It's free. It doesn't cost you anything. It doesn't cost the people who want to go do the labs anything. And it's just, I think all around it's a great tool for people. Like, it gets you into Linux right away. Like over here on the right, I'm just in a web browser in a Linux shell, you know, doing whatever I want. So execute the planned update of the system and verify that packages have been updated. So we come down here and it's apt-y update. So now we say, we're still in this directory here, apt-y update. And it says that it's going to wait a minute. Oh, yeah, okay. So upgrade. That was my bad. So execute the plan. I don't know why I have that backwards in my head. We don't normally do this step, so that's going to be upgraded. Yeah. So here's all the ones that are ready to update. And then upgrade is what's going to happen down here. -y upgrade, and they'll actually upgrade. -y upgrade the system. And some of you guys that were here at the beginning, we copied 09 up here, and that's why as we do number 10 here, we're getting rid of the old stuff from the other lab. Right, so we're just basically wiping and writing through the lab as we go to make our own new lab. Right, it's our lab. The other lab was our lab as well, but this is it. And then I told you guys, if you ever need to go and find how a technique was done, like maybe you're doing a Kubernetes lab and you're like, oh, I want to see how Scott did like the blue-green deployments and how did he assign the assets and then drop them into the, you know, the environment the way that he did. Well, the way that you do that with assets, all that kind of stuff is actually captured over here in the GitHub. So if you ever need to go, if you're building labs or something like that, was I doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu before UFC 1 with the green? No, UFC 1 was in like 93. So no, I started in 2003. I started while I was still in the Army. Actually, I was in Iraq when I started doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So no, I was not doing it before, but I do remember watching all the old UFCs. We used to get them via, we'd go get them via the, they used to have them as VHS tapes back in the day at Superstar Video by my house. Back then, so some of you guys don't know, but like before there was Netflix, there was a place called Blockbuster. And before Blockbuster kind of won the battle, there was a bunch of different video stores. Like there was all kinds of video stores, and one of them near my house that was called Superstar Video. It had a lot of the more like, I want to say like rated R type stuff. Like there were things that Blockbuster wouldn't carry, right? There were videos that they wouldn't carry, but the other video store would. But they couldn't rent stuff like that to kids. But they would rent the UFCs to us, even though back then, if you guys don't know, the only places that they could do Ultimate Fighting Championships back then, which was bare knuckle, was in Hawaii and in Colorado. Those were the only two places that they were allowed. And there was a guy named John McCain back in the day. He was actually a senator from Arizona. Some of you guys know him because he ran for president too. But he was a senator from my state of Arizona, and he very famously called UFC human cockfighting, and people did not like that. What? You can't say C-O-C-K? I'm talking about a rooster. God damn it. So this thing won't say it. Yeah, but anyways, it was human cockfighting is what he called it. That's the quote. It was. I'm not swearing. I'm using the term human rooster fighting. My freaking thing won't say bad words, and it won't let me do precise engineering terminology either sometimes. So, anyways, all right. All right, I'm swearing over here, but the system's right. I shouldn't be allowed to. All right, we're just going to hit OK. If anything, just hit OK. App-Y upgrade. It'll upgrade everything in the system. And then we might want to go look when this is all done. We're going to go look at the system, and this is going to bring up an interesting question here when this is all done about, by the way, is it upgrading the kernel? Yes. That is a new version of the kernel right there. If I do a du-sh dot right now, was anything kept in here in my archives? And it doesn't look like it was. Varcache apt. All right. Huh. So nothing was cached. So that's fine. Well, that's fine. We can skip all that. I was going to show you guys that if it had dropped things back in the archives, we could clean them up if we needed to. You could also, instead of doing the remove that we did, you could have done apt clean, apt cache clean, and it would have cleaned that out as well. So we know how to do an install. We can remove an individual package. So apt remove syststat, right? And it'll tell us that we could remove. All right, so verify. Okay, so now you find out that your team is no longer allowed to have syststat on development servers. That actually might happen. Not exactly that tool, but some tools might be outside of the security standard of company. Ones that we remove often are things like you'll see people remove. Sometimes you can't have netcat on a server. Sometimes you can't have nmap, which is it uses netcat. Sometimes you can't have telnet. Even though telnet's a useful tool for us as engineers, sometimes because people would be prompted to, or maybe they would think, hey, I should use telnet to connect somewhere. I don't know why you ever would in all the world, but the point is, telnet's a useful tool for us to test connections. It's not a tool that we would ever actually use to connect to anything, though, right? And that distinction is one of those things that makes it useful to us as systems engineers and admins. So, yeah, so then we say, yes, we want to remove it. So, apt remove, we'll say apt-y remove syststat. And then I might ask something like, how many KB of disk space is freed up by you removing this tool? What other packages were also removed, right? And you should be able to answer that by looking at that. So that's, I'm trying to think of anything else with apt. troubleshoot ever. Okay. All right. So then we have that, and then you can also go back and look at all of the, if you just manage to hit like tail, it'll go and it'll rerun. This was a command against the log, and it shows that it removed it, and it shows your upgrade that happened on the system, right? And it tells you what that kind of looked like and showed you all that stuff. Oh man. Alright guys, I'm over here yawning. Read the man pages or apt to figure out more useful more use cases that you may need in the future. All right, so then what's our verify for that? Been true. Okay, so that is pretty much that part of the lab done. Now we got one last one that we were gonna do, and this last one was gonna be dealing specifically with like your sources and your where apt gets things from. So I'm gonna clear the screen up. I may even just refresh this page, so now I got a clean lab all over again. And this last one would say, now that we've used DPKG and apt to manipulate packages, let's you decide to investigate where the software you're adding to your system comes from. All right. So in this one, we're going to say, make it bigger, and then we'll say use inspect. Yeah, that's fine. That's fine for now. So we're going to move over into Etsy apt. And in here, we're going to have this sources.list, right? And in here is going to be all of the sources that you were seeing earlier from your, here's all the sources that were used earlier from your, as you were doing your update and your upgrade, right? So this is where your system, when you did an apt update, all of the systems that were checked and see if there were any updates are actually defined in here, right? So one of the things we might do is say, check your current, we might say when you did your apt update, your system checked repositories for newer packages. Find the find where those trusted repositories exist on your system, right? And in this case, it's going to be cd to Etsy apt, and then, oops, not that. And then the command was sources.list, right? But let's say we wanted to grep-v anything anchored to the front with a dash from sources.list. All right. So that will remove all of that noise, all of those pound signs that are in there. We just got rid of them, right? And these are the place right here. So do you recognize these repositories? from your update and upgrade? The answer should be yes. But there's another place over here. If we cd to sources.list.d, in here we can also put the, hey, how's it going, Chris, over on the YouTube side of things. We're just building labs out for the professional Linux users group. And let me back up. These are labs for anybody, right? Anybody on all planet Earth. It's just the professional Linux users group are the people that normally use them. So, all right. So do you recognize these repositories from your upgrade search? Okay, so now we're going to go steal something from one of my other labs, right? And it's specifically, we're going to steal from this one right here. And what we're going to do is we're going to steal this little part here where we're going to download and trust some of this stuff. So we're going to, you know, very shamefully steal from ourselves, but it's going to be okay. And the answer to that should be yes. You have another directory that extends the use of that list. It is found. See if, so, okay. Examine that directory to see if there are any additional configured repositories for your system currently. Right? And the answer to that one is ls in etc apt sources.list.d, and then we would say because this is empty, we know that there are no additional repositories configured. Okay. I do like, Chris, I do like drop-in directories. I use them often in sudoers. So some of you guys, Etsy sudoers.d is a place that we will drop things in. I have a different lab that goes over that for people that want to know more about that. But yeah, directories where I can just drop a file in or remove a file to add or remove permissions or software configuration. In this case, it's really useful. It's very, and it fits well with like methodology that I like to use for deployments within Ansible, where I can just put stuff in a directory or pull things out, and that process of putting things in or pulling things out is exactly what configures my system. So we're going to do that here in a second, right? So you want to add, in this lab, you want to add a tool called Grafana to your servers. Grafana has their own repositories that are not configured on your system. So you can configure that repository on your server and validate it. Let's just say configure that repository on your server. And then we'll get to the key after. So this is going to look like this. Where's my, here. Drop. So this command, hold on. Let's drop this here, right? And then this command will drop the contents of the echo into a file in your Etsy apt sources.list.d directory. Okay? There is a key, a GPG key, no less, that is used and can also used to sign packages and establishes a trust between your system and the repository, let's say the software items you download from that repository. Put the key in your system. Download the key. Put the key in your system to establish that trust. And that command is going to look like this. Again, we very shamefully steal from ourselves. Here's the command to go grab that key. It's super easy. You just wget the key from apt-grafana.com GPG key, and you go put it in the right location to be used by that. That's it, right there. Once you have those two components, that repository will now work. That repository is now trusted. So you have done what's called an out-of-band key exchange. You are set. It's kind of like if you come over to my house and say, "Hey, Scott, can I have your Wi-Fi password?" And I go, "Yeah, here it is." Me giving you, yeah, wget or curl, both will do it. But if I give you my my wireless password just verbally, or I plug it right into your phone, that is out of band management, meaning the password never passed through the system. It never passed over the line, right? Over the wire, or in this case, over the open air. It never passed that way. It was channeled. It was carried by a different route, if you want to think of it like that. So that's what we're doing here. We're downloading it and putting it in that directory. And then up here, we're using that directory. Oh, somebody's calling me. Hold on a second. The Scott, they didn't want to talk to me very much since they put me in a waiting room. Oh, I hate that kind of stuff. They just drop me in like in a waiting room. Oh, we're about an hour away. By the way, guys, for people that want to get involved, the Professional Linux Users Group, always free, never charges you nothing. We're about an hour out from some of you guys that are working on the writer's room. Some of you guys have been putting together the Linux admin course, and if you want to get more involved with that, and maybe you want to just network with people and talk shop and that course, I think it was good. I mean, I wrote it, so I hope it was good, but it was 16 weeks of free Linux systems administration. We're going into round 2 in about 3 weeks, and we're going to have, we had 208 people start it last time. Well, we got up to 208 people say they were coming. I don't think we ever had that many actually show up, but that's how many said that they were coming. But the guys right now are working on taking all of that material and turning it into a big book for you. So then you'll have a book for free of the Linux admin course. They're also working on the security course. That's going to start around that same time. I haven't decided exactly when I'm going to run that, but the security course is going to be right around that same time as well. It's going to be, this is going to be, if you consider Linux sysadmin like the crawling, like just understanding how Linux fits into like an organization and an enterprise and that kind of stuff, that's what this is. The system engineering course, the security course is going to be much, much more just, I'm going to be more like walking / running. I'm not going to be showing you how to PWD and LS and CD. I'm going to assume you have that, right? We're going to be like walking to run. This is crawling, and then there's this methodology called crawl, walk, run. And this was crawling. This was understanding where we fit. And then we got to get up and walk and run. And that's what the security course is going to be. Security course will probably start around the same time as this one. Anyways. Hey, Twisted Seed, thanks for the Prime. You know, you guys can use your Prime anywhere. And you choose to use it here. Twisted's been around a long time. So I appreciate you kind of hanging out with us. This was Ranger earlier. This was Ranger last night after I fed him. He's looking at me all majestically from his bed. Actually, I think this was after I got done streaming and I was going to get food. That's how he was looking at me. Like, food again, buddy? Yeah, thanks, Ranger. No, I did a pretty long stream yesterday, so I think I earned it. All right, anyways, let's grab this and let's do these 2 commands. I don't even think I've done these commands in the system. I have not. So let's go grab this one. Drop that in. Boom. And we've done this in other labs, but this is, we don't need the sudo. Hold on, get out of here. We're root already. We don't need sudo. All right, wget to grab that. And boom. And then we should say apt-y install Grafana Enterprise. I think it's Enterprise. Yeah. And, oh, maybe just Grafana. Actually, let's go look over here. If we're going to steal everything, let's just steal everything. Oh. Did I spell Grafana Enterprise wrong? That's interesting. Maybe I messed up there. Hey, Producer Wolf, how's it going? Thanks for the raid. I appreciate it. So I just wanted to see, were we getting the package information for Grafana? And we are, right? And then I should be able to install -y Grafana -enterprise, unless I'm spelling something weirdly wrong. There we go. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know why that didn't do that. But anyways, we might say over here, verify that the package, verify that the system is using that repository by doing, I'll just say like this. Apt update. So if we do apt update, what our system's has always done up to this point is it will go and it'll walk the meta information for each of those things, and it'll tell us, like, do you see Grafana in the repository list? And the answer to that's yes, right? You should see that in there. And then you can go ahead and, in this case, update Grafana and do whatever kinds of things you need to. Now, for this lab, we're not actually going to do that. We're not going to actually mess around with Grafana. So we don't need to do that part of the install necessarily. Can I, over here, apt, can I just do list search, so install, reinstall, remove, auto remove, update, upgrade, full upgrade, edit sources, satisfy. Sometimes you can also get away with this, apt dash and then hit tab, and then it'll tell you what other things are there. I don't see anything else maybe that I care about right now. So source depends. Show recordable record for all the packages. So now we can search that repository though. Right, and then we can search for Grafana now. So, all right. Apt cache. Yeah. Oh yeah, if I ever get a call, Albert, yeah, if anybody ever calls me and puts me in a waiting room, that's that's immediate hang up. Like I'm not like, and I hate to say that because that sounds like the super Chad thing, but I mean, as an engineer, as a college professor, like I value my time a lot, and you know, when I do something and if somebody wants to do business with me in some way, I like it's typically going to be me reaching out to them, not them reaching out to me in any way. But I'll tell you guys, one of the worst things in all the planet Earth you could ever do is get yourself on a VA list, man. Because that's VA, Veterans Affairs, because I'm a combat vet. So it's like, man, as soon as you're on one of those lists, they throw everything in the kitchen sink, and you are on every list for just scams and debauchery and just fucking they just want to get that money out of vets. And it is, and I imagine that most of the time they probably think, oh, this guy's older and he's lonely or this or whatever. But man, donating blood too. Hack the planet. Donating blood is bad. One of the worst things we ever did was, and this is going to sound terrible, but my wife's uncle passed away, and he was a Vietnam vet, and we donated a pretty good amount of money. It wasn't a small amount of money to one of the veterans groups of his choice, right? And this was as like I'm a vet and all these other things. And ever since sending, it turns you off to ever want to give to those groups when you know all they do is take that money and turn around and do more fundraisers. Since giving that, and my wife says, she's like, I'll give anonymously. I'll never give like that. She put her name on something. And since we gave that pretty sizable amount, I want to say it was over 500, but I'm not saying that to tell you guys the amount. I'm saying that to tell you this next part. I am 100% confident that they have wasted more than that amount of money sending us T-shirts and fucking giant packets and just garbage. My wife has gotten at least 10 T-shirts from these people since then. And it's like, why the fuck don't you take that money and give it to the people that it was supposed to be about? But instead, you guys are using it to like try to generate more. Like all you are is like a waiter that has like 15 plates, and the plates are all falling forward, so you're just running more. You're basically the definition of a Ponzi scheme. You're not giving that money. I'm just telling you right now, whatever amount we gave, which I'm pretty sure was over 500 for her uncle, who had passed away, they have sent us more than $500 worth of stuff since then. And that to me is asinine. Oh, and it's like garbage stuff. It's like, oh, here's some coins and here's a shirt. She has literally gotten more than 10 shirts from one of these organizations. But they also tell their buddies because all their buddies send us stuff too. And we're like, it is absolutely asinine to me. Anyways, as a vet who also thinks like, God, just leave me alone. I also just want them to fucking, anyways, all right. Apt update. And then, can you search? Let's search for a fun tool. Let's search for K6. Do they have K6? Maybe that's gonna be, no, that's gonna get other stuff. Fine. Let's look for something that's probably only gonna be in there. Let's look for granite. Huh. Don't take things for granted. That's a long story. Oh, where's the apt? What's the one which it'll tell us? Is it apt search? So we can do apt search, of course. But is there also apt search? Granite. Is there more information around the search where we see? So let's apt search granite, and then apt show. Right, granite demo. Okay. Because what I want to see is, can we find in here granite demo? Does come from Ubuntu, so that's not exactly what I want. I would have thought that... Okay, this does come from the Ubuntu one. No, we want one... Let's just do Grafana. All right. So we'll do apt search Grafana. So, oh, and there's Promtail. Promtail would be a good one too. I just want something that I know will never be in the other directory. So yeah, let's say, can you see Grafana in the repository list? Let's say Promtail. In the repository. Oh, can you see? No, that was not what I wanted to do. So can you search for the package Promtail and then verify that it comes from the Grafana repository? And that is apt search Promtail and then apt show Promtail. Let's just make sure. Apt search Promtail is there, and then apt show Promtail. What is the home page? What is the apt source? And then what is the description of that tool, right? Okay, so that's a pretty good. And then what's our verify for this one? It's also just been true. All right, so we're gonna hit Control S, and then what we got to do with this lab for people that haven't been around, what we have to do now is we're gonna pass this lab up, and we're gonna validate over here in Killercoda that all this stuff is right. So let's go over to our creator profile. We'll drop down into Het Tanis here. You'll see that our last update was last week, or like a few days ago. 5 days ago or so. And let's take all these changes and say new lab added to Linux, right? And then when this lab's done, then we're go. Let's see. At a Verk, you have Docker on your laptop and 13 years of experience running Linux as your primary OS. Nice. Are you doing anything professionally at a Verk over on the YouTube side of things? I know this thing's not going to properly say your name, but wanted to get into sysadmin DevOps stuff. Well, I'll tell you, we've got a nice little place to hang out and do that if you want. We've got a, let me do Discord over here, and then I'll drop it over on the YouTube. But you're welcome to hang out. Anybody on YouTube or Twitch, you guys are welcome to hang out with us over in our Discord. It's just, gosh, I think there's almost 3,600 of you now. Hanging out and doing Linux with us. There's a little bot that'll introduce itself to you. But you guys are welcome to come hang out and ask questions and just, you know, do system stuff with us. We do systems admin, systems engineer. Oh, you're on there already? Cool, cool, cool. Yeah. I think Ansible's awesome. I think my Ansible labs are okay. But let's go ahead and we're going to take this and we're going to sync our changes up. And then there's going to be a hook that's going to run, and we're going to see this updated to right now on the system time. In fact, it's synced. I didn't even have to hit a button there. You guys see that? It's going to sync right now. And it's going to go to March 1st, right? Boom, there we go. March 1st at UTC time, right? And it says new lab added to Linux. So that's cool. And I'm going to come down here and I see a 29th scenario. So we got a new scenario. So now we can come over here and we're going to get ready to, what I like to do is I like to go through the lab. So if any of you guys want to come do the lab with me, the software and package managers, I'm going to do it, and I'm going to look for errors and all that kind of stuff as I go. So here's the lab. YouTube, am I going to be in Discord later? Yeah, there's a Discord event right now. Well, in the next about 40 minutes or so, the writer's room's going to start up, and that's I'm not necessarily going to be down there, but I might hop down there if the guys are doing stuff. And then I've got our normal weekly meeting is coming up in about 3.5 hours from now. So if anybody wants to go in there, that's gonna, you guys are welcome to go hang out in as many of these places as you want. Hey Hannah, how's it going? And then the Linux sysadmin course is coming up at the end of March. Well, it looks like we got 41 people interested in doing that now. We had 208 last time, so it got pretty big. In fact, it got so big that we broke. Like we didn't. Like I had never been in a Discord channel with more than 30 people in it. And after you get to 25 people, you're no longer allowed to run video. Everybody running video. And then when you get over about 60 people, voice starts dropping between the different people. So you have to switch over to one of these conference rooms. Like if you guys have never seen it inside of Discord, obviously you can hang out in Discord and talk with your buddies and stuff, right? Like Discord with a few people is like one of the best things ever. You can play video games, do whatever. But this conference room, this allows us to have up to, I think you can have up to 1,000 people. And yeah. So you can have like up to 1,000 people. Even we limited it at 500, but we've had 100 people in here and it works. But it's basically just me and the one or two other conference speakers that get up there. Yeah, Robodom, we definitely stress tested Discord and we definitely broke things. So yeah, these individual conference rooms and like study groups and stuff, these individual conference rooms are great, but you can't have more than 25 people with video on. It won't work. That's actually a limitation inside of YouTube. So then, or inside of Discord. And then we found when you get over about 60 people with your video off, like the Linux chat no longer would work. So we had to make a conference. We actually found this out during the last Linux system admin course. So you had 500 plus on TeamSpeak. Were they all in the same one, Hannah, all talking? Because that just sounds like a nightmare. Yeah. I remember TeamSpeak. I used to run my own TeamSpeak server. TeamSpeak used to allow you could run TeamSpeak on your own, but only up to 8 users. And I used to run my own TeamSpeak server out of my home back in the day just to run voice for everybody so that we could do old X-Wing. Nice. We used to run, I had a writer's group. So I am a writer. I enjoy writing. I tell people like I'm an author because I have the book for Prologue, but I'm not an author because of my fantasy stuff. I've done NaNoWriMo before. Anybody here familiar with NaNoWriMo? That's one of the coolest things on the web. Like just groups of people that get together and in November you write. You just write in November. It's one of the coolest little projects. And you could do it all the time, but it's kind of a fun one. Adaverk said, what's the difference between Killercoda? So Killercoda is a free site that exists on the internet for literally anybody on planet Earth to run. And then Professional Linux Users Group, Prologue, is just the group that I started to get people doing Linux. The goal of Killercoda is to teach you any system stuff. The goal of our Professional Linux Users Group is to get you guys doing stuff professionally. Like let's say you're a hobbyist and you run Linux for fun or you run Linux at home, but you're like, hey, I've never made that jump to doing it as like a career. Alberto G said, are these labs the same as in your book? Yeah, the book actually links over to a bunch of these, but you do not need the book to get into these labs at all. You can go do these labs. The book just adds extra, it's almost like a journal for people that are interested in doing that kind of stuff. Enzo Barry, you said you used TS3 for CSGO. Yeah, I never got up to TeamSpeak 3. I only ever used the first couple. But yeah, they had a free version. It wasn't completely open source, but they had a free version that you could run on your own back in the day. This was early 2000s for TeamSpeak. You could run your own one, and I ran it on Linux for me and my buddies to join and just hang out and talk. And one of the guys was up in Colorado. And then the rest of us were down here in Phoenix, and we just all would hop on these TeamSpeak calls and do, fun stuff. Now Discord makes all of that like a moot point, so. Or a moo point, which is a cow's opinion, if you guys don't know. So moot is the word, but moo is one of the jokes. All right, there's a million jokes on that. Let's do this. You are a systems administrator at a company. You need to better understand the software that is installed on your system. You also need to better understand how to install software and where that software is coming from. I think that's pretty good. Problem was on public IP bit price. Yeah, Hannah. I just had people like a DDNS into my system, and that was the way I did it back then. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff that you know, there's so many things that we can do. It's not DYDNS, it's DDNS. Whatever. That thing's not going to do it. You decide to start by looking at the server for what software package information you can discover. All right. So I say list all packages on your system. dpackage-l. Good. Use Q to exit. How many packages do you have? Well, if I don't want to count them all, I might use this. That'll count them. And I say to approximately how many packages do you have? Can you find all the packages that have something to do with SSL? Yes, I can do that. And then I say, suppose you want to know what certain, okay, so how many packages have SSL in their name or description? Well, I could just add, wc-l and say 10, right? That was kind of a little bit of a challenge problem, I guess, for people, right? And then it says, suppose you want to know, here, we can hide. No, we don't have to hide that, but we can hide that for now while we're doing this. Suppose you want to know what package installed a certain command. Use dpkg-s to find where a command was installed from. So I want to see where iostat came from, and iostat was installed by sysstat. So iostat is a command, right, that I can use to see CPU and device information on my system. And iostat was installed via the sysstat package. It wasn't like I won't find an iostat package. It doesn't exist. Adverb, do I need anything besides my laptop to experiment with Linux? I don't think so. I think you can do everything you need on a laptop. I think if you can get out to Killercoda, you can go get in thousands of labs for free and just get your hands on a bunch of different stuff. There's stuff on Killercoda that I think would get you guys ready for like working as a Kubernetes administrator. Like, and you say Kubernetes administrator, yeah, they tend to call them DevOps engineers, or SRE guys, but Kubernetes is a huge part of that. And it's there's a lot of, like, if we went to dice.com right now, we could find all kinds of jobs around Kubernetes, and I could map literally everything they want you to know to something in Killercoda. We've done that before. That's like a easy little experiment on understanding systems, right? So anyways, but this is us just doing basic Linux stuff right here. Because again, basic Linux is valuable. There's no shortage of need for Linux engineers, right? What package provided iostat command on the server? Well, it was sysstat. Okay? And I said, what if you knew that sysstat provided iostat, but you also wanted to know everything else that is provided by sysstat? Well, you can go look at all of the installed. This is every file. When you installed sysstat on the system, this is every file that was changed or added to the system. So I said, can you confirm that pidstat is a command that was installed with sysstat? And yes, right here, we look at all the packages installed by sysstat, and I see that pidstat was the actual binary executable right here, and the man page. So then I say maybe like pidstat 110. So 10 times every 1 second. Let's see what processes are running on the system. And it looks like pidstat and runtime info, and then pidstat and node. And then, some KC terminal thing happened, probably some execution or whatever. But this is what was using CPU and the process ID. So if I wanted to know what was going on in a system over time, I can use pidstat to see what is actually crossing the processor or processors at any given time. Very useful type of commands. Then I said read the man pages for more useful information that can be gathered. So man DPKG, excuse me, it's a package manager for Debian, and then I can go read about it. I can hit Q to exit. And then I said look for sysstat out of var log. So read or query through the DPKG log. Can you tell when the sysstat package was installed? Well, I can say date right here, and then I can grep there, and I can see that 10 minutes ago, my lab's been running for 10 minutes. 10 minutes ago, my system started to use the, 10 minutes ago, my system did that. There you go, boom. Or installed that, right? There was an install for sysstat. All right. So that's a pretty good primer. If I didn't know anything about DPKG, that would give me, I think, a pretty decent start on how to use the tool. Then whatever comes at you from, tickets or users or your security team or your what we call your CMDB, which is your configuration database. The hell did I say? CMDB, Configuration Management Database. That team, you're going to get your change management team is going to come breathe down your neck often. And the reason people bug you so much as a Linux engineer is because nobody knows how to get in this command line. When I say nobody, I mean I'm not talking about other Linux engineers. I'm talking about everybody else. Everybody else just thinks you're sitting there casting spells, right? They don't think you're actually like doing work. They think you're casting spells. So all right, so that first part of the lab I think is good. We're going to call that good for now. All right, so now we're going to go to the second part of the lab, and it says apt for installing software. Use apt to install packages that you need on the system. Use apt to download all the updates that the system needs. Then after reviewing, after you review, wait a minute, then after you review, comma, there we go, then after you review, comma, that. Fair enough. Yeah, then after you review, comma, upgrade all the packages on the system and verify that everything worked right. Okay. Good enough. All right, we'll have to update that. We'll wait until we have this whole section done, and then we'll do that. All right. So we are starting a new project and want to run Ansible in a lab environment. Install Ansible on your system. So we'll do a time apt install Ansible and see how long it took for that to work. If it was easy, everyone would do it. Fair enough, Mindustry. I definitely agree with that. But I do think that everybody could do this if they wanted to. But I do find that some people just absolutely are sick in minutes of doing command line stuff. Me, I'm like the Brer Rabbit. You could just throw me in the Brer Patch. He's the Brer Rabbit, and he gets thrown in the Briar Patch. I should have said that better. But he is the Brer Rabbit, in case anybody's wondering, not the Briar Rabbit, as I grew up thinking. All right, anyways. Took 23 seconds. There were real user calls and system calls happening during that, but it took 23 seconds. There was a little bit of wasted time, maybe about 6 seconds in the system where it wasn't really doing anything. It was waiting on a call or something like that. Yeah, Mr. Mac, I would do RPM, except I can't do RPM on these systems because these are all over there. But in the sysadmin course, because in the sysadmin course I get you guys down into our labs here, right? Like this is my home and my lab environment. Let's just say like we go to Rocky, 5 or something. In here, right? In here I have labs as you do that for RPM and DNF. Yeah, so DNF and RPM, because this is a Rocky 9.4 box that I have. Well, interestingly enough, this has been... Apparently we did an update the other day when I was on this messing around. So this is on 9.5, but the install is 9.4. So if I reboot this box, it'll come back up as a 9.4 box, right? Not to get into too much with Rocky, but the CIQ support for Rocky Linux only extends to the even numbered versions. So 9.2, 9.4, 9.6 when it comes out later. Atavirk, everything on Killercoda is free. Whether you're under my stuff or not, everything on Killercoda is free. You can pay. There's a paid-for version, but I've never used it in almost 3 years on the platform, and it's been completely free. Yeah, everything on there's free. Yeah, and I don't get anything out of it except the satisfaction of knowing that people are doing these labs. Yeah. So, yeah, Atavirk over on YouTube, it is 100% free to use Killercoda. You can just generically go in there and start doing right now stuff for your CKA or CKAD certification, CKS. You want to go get security certified. Let's say you don't want to actually pay and get a CKS. You just want to know security better. Look at this. This is like, oh man, this is more than it used to be, but that's like 40 something labs right there. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, I think that's 41 labs right there of Linux security stuff in Kubernetes security stuff. So make a service account that uses secrets for a pod. Boom. All these things that you've probably heard about. This actually ties back to Kim Woosterkamp, who wrote all this. He's got a full YouTube course on this. Let's see. Does this link you guys to his course? Yeah, here's his YouTube course on it.
Hi everyone, my name is Henry Drexel.
And it's free. Everything he has up there is free. So it's got 153,000 views, but you can watch his course and then you can go and do the labs in real time for free. I'm telling you guys, man, I think Killercoda is I've often said this. I think Killercoda is one of the best things on the web. Because, guys, the way it used to be was if you wanted to do Kubernetes, you would have to install Kubernetes. So there's that time sync and all that other stuff. But then you come jump over here, and now, like, oh, I can't go into one of these now. But if I were on this, I could start doing Kubernetes right now without ever doing all that install stuff. Outcast Wander, I believe he has sergeants for some of the K. Yeah, there's stuff that's probably true. There's also Killer Shell, which is he runs that as well, but that's a paid for service. So Killer Shell is, but Killercoda, man, you can just come in here. Watch this. I'll just go to a playground, and I can be in a Kubernetes playground right now for the current CKA or CKAD, and if I needed to recertify, I could come in here and start messing around with this. Docker Desktop comes with Kubernetes. You just need to enable it. Yeah, well, that's good. Yeah. Look, I'm not telling you guys you have to do this stuff. I'm just saying for people who maybe you've struggled to get Kubernetes installed or you don't have the hardware, you can just go jump in there whenever you want and start working on it. Atavirk, this is like one of the best kept secrets on the web right here. Did I jump out of my damn lab? Oh, gosh. Guys, you got to stop me. All right, I got to run through my lab again real quick. All right, because that is, at the end of the day, that is what we're doing here is setting up labs. So I'm doing, we're going to run through this quick because we already did this part. All that should be good. DPKG-L. Actually, technically, this one just finishes, so it doesn't matter. IOStat. Jeez, get me out of there. IOStat, boom. All right, so this one just finishes, good. We updated the top here where it's weird, and then now we're going to install Ansible. And then we're going to go, it says, how long did Ansible take to install? It took about 23 seconds. What dependencies were installed? Well, there's a whole bunch of Python stuff that was needed. You only told the system to install that one thing. Why did it install those other ones? Because it recognized and installed the dependencies for us. Looking at the Git lines, where did most of these packages come from? So if I scroll up, all of these Git lines were Ubuntu archives. So it was all from Ubuntu. Everything in here came from Ubuntu, which makes sense because we haven't configured anything on this box yet besides the base repository. So it makes sense that they all came from archive.ubuntu. And it says what information was kept in the log for apt. So we can go look at the end. And here was everything that was installed. If anything had been updated, we would have seen that. And when the start time and the end time of that installation was. Boom. Then I go clear out the cache. So CD in there was 179 megs of cached archives, and we removed them all. So now it's empty, yes. We do an apt update, and we go look through all of these repositories for updates, and we see that there's 208 packages that can be upgraded. So we're going to list the upgradable packages out. And then we say the security team's been bugging us for information about this high CVSS score. You can go look up what a CVSS score is. And can we see that there are updates for SSH and SSL? Yes. So we can tell them yes. Can we execute the planned updates with an upgrade? Hit OK if anything prompts you for a question. So we'll let that run. Links are censored here. Yeah. If there's a link, if anybody has problems or needs anything, just go drop it in Discord, typically. And Mr. Mac, that's not like SAD servers, is it? SAD servers is a great thing. If you guys have never seen SAD servers, they're just a bunch of Linux admin questions and things. So there's a lot of good stuff out there. So we'll do upgrade. We'll upgrade this system, guys. I don't even, and by the way, I don't even maintain Ubuntu servers very often. I'm almost exclusively Red Hat and Rocky servers. Those are almost exclusively what I run professionally. But these other tools, it's just kind of like, it's good to know the general idea of how these tools work across any system. You know, maybe you want to go tinker around in a lab or something. Then you just go, you know, and sometimes you're just out reading. Guys, reading man pages, reading blogs about stuff, this is how we pick this stuff up, right? We learn from the kind of collective experience, which is why it's so good to have a group of engineers to hang out with. I tell you guys all the time, like, maybe you break rocks all day, maybe you hang shingles or you hang drywall, and then the only time you get to come talk with other engineers is hanging out in a Discord server. Well, there's a lot of information there to pick up and get ready to maybe transition out of that. Because I did roofing when I was younger. I know how hard roofing is. Like, I grew up in Phoenix. My uncle had a roofing company, and every summer, that was what I would go do, was over summer from high school, I would just go in there and start digging in and doing roofing prep with him, you know. Then he had a pretty successful roofing company, so he had a few crews. But I would go out and prep and rip shingles off roofs and carry shingles up on the roof and lay them out across, and I would do the paper, you know, lay the paper out and do the chalk lines and stuff. And it's like, that's hard fucking work in the sun of Phoenix, right? So anyways, my point is telling you guys all that is like, maybe when you're done with the day and you're beat and tired, you want to come and hang out with a bunch of engineers. And that's why we have things like our Discord and things like this channel for you guys to go and study stuff, you know. All we did today really was build this one lab. This is all we've been working on. And then we've just been talking about other stuff as we go. So, again, people are always welcome to hang out in here. Been doing this for a long time. Oh, yeah. James Lynch, I don't know if you know. So James over on the YouTube side said, true, 5 minutes with experienced people can save you hundreds of hours. One of my favorite things, this is actually a signature on my emails. It says, experience is the hardest teacher. It gives you the test first and the lesson after. And that's absolutely brutal, man. Like, I've been a college professor for a long time. If I gave you a test on networking the first day you walked in a class, you guys would be like, this guy's an asshole. This guy is the worst. And you'd be right. I'd be expecting I'd be testing you first and then giving you all the experience after. And that's why I love that quote so much, is experience is the hardest teacher. Gives you the test first and then the lesson after. And then if you're doing this stuff right, I think you go and you show other people so that their experience is a little better. They don't have to go through the hard times that you did, you know, learning how to do this stuff right. So apt-y upgrade. Come down here. The team's no longer allowed to have systat on development servers, so we need to remove systat. Oops, I didn't mean to click that yet. But now when this is done, we'll apt-y remove. So upgrade may take a while. We could have done a time on it as well. Yeah, Albert, I'll tell you, you know what's one of the funniest things I learned as a roofer? This is 100% true, and I've seen this happen more than twice. Probably I've seen this happen less than 5 times, but more than twice. So when you get really hot in the sun and you're doing work all day in the sun, which, it was terrible. We try to start as early as we can, right? Like 6:30, right as the sun's coming up, because that's the first time it's legal in the city to swing a hammer, right? You can't be swinging hammers when it's still dark out. It's not legal. But anyways, we would start really early and pull the roofs off. You want to get to roofing tar when it's cool, by the way, as well. If you do it when it's hot, you're just like, it's like pulling apart a grilled cheese sandwich. It's just not gonna, but it's like a million times tougher than a grilled cheese sandwich. Anyways, where I'm going with that is, I would see guys get off a roof and then think, oh man, I need to cool down quick. And they would like pour cold water over themselves, and they would 100% knock themselves out, because your body can't go from being that hot to cooling off that quickly. Like, you pour cool water over your head, it will knock you out. You'll pass out right on the ground. Right, and you don't want to do that on the roof. You'll fall off the roof. But, it shocks your system, as Robodom said. Yeah, and I've 100% seen that happen to humans. So, like, I know, you know, and this is also from being in the Army, that you have to cool down slowly. You can drink the water all you want. You can put the water, You know, you could put cool water or something against your chest or under your arm, on your neck. That will cool you off quickly. But yeah, if you burn off that, no, Atavirk, the lab of 60 minutes. When you're done with that lab and you hit refresh, you're only limited to one lab at a time. So Atavirk asked the question, do you only get 60 minutes of labs per day? No. This lab right here is the only one I'm allowed to be in, but if I hit refresh, I get another 60 minutes. Back when he first started this, you were allowed to have 2 labs open at a time. But right now, you can only have 1 lab. So you see how I just refreshed and now I have 60 minutes again? So you can do as many labs as you want all day, but only 1 at a time, Atavirk. That's the rule. And then they have, look, they have, if you want to pay them $10 a month, you can. But I've set this up where I've been running this forever and they've never charged me anything, and I think it's great. So this is back in the lab. We're going to blow through this. We're not going to do this one. We're going to blow through, hold on, whoops. Let's go to this next one. And I just want to get to the very end and say remove sysstat, right? I'm going to remove sysstat from the system. And then I said, how many kilobytes of disk space are freed up? And it was 1,511 kilobytes. And then what other packages were also removed? It looks like they also removed, so sysstat got pulled, and then also it's, there were some process triggers to remove its file from the database, but nothing else was removed here, so that's good. Then we hit check, and then now we're on the last one. It says now that we've used DPKG and apt to manipulate packages, you decide to investigate where the software you're adding to your system comes from. So we go cd to apt, and we go look at the sources that are there. We did a grep-v against anything that started any line. This is anchored to the front of the line for pound, so we got rid of all the pound signs. If you want, you can just cat that file directly, and then you'll see. We could have also just grepped it without cding in there. It's not that big of a deal. But do you recognize these repositories from your update and upgrade command earlier? Yes, you do, because these are all the archive Ubuntu. And then focal main, focal updates. Yeah, all of these are here. Good. And then because, okay, so now you have another directory that extends the use of that list. Examine that directory to see if there are any additional configured repositories in your system. No, there are not. Because this is empty, we know that there are no additional repositories. You want to add a tool called Grafana to your servers. Grafana has their own repositories that are not configured on your system, so you can configure that repository on your system. Boom. By the way, if you rerun this command, maybe I should add that. Now you'll see the Grafana list, right? And then it says that command will drop the contents of echo in a file. Maybe I would need to show that. So cat etc apt sources.list.d and then Grafana list would show you that has been added. Maybe I should have you cat that. There's a GPG that's used to sign packages and establishes a trust between your system and the software items you download from that repository. So put that key in your system to establish that trust. So we'll download that key. Here's the place that we put the key. Here's where we got it from. And then this is, it shows up here that they're signed by that key. So these should line up if you ever build these manually. You can go build these manually. You can go download these from Grafana or any kind. There's all kinds of package managers all out there in the world. Sick in the Mind said, I had a coach that yelled at us after wrestling practice in a heated room, scream at us over standing outside in the snow because we thought it felt really good. Yeah. Well, that would probably still cool you down faster, but yeah, you can. There's all kinds of injuries that can come from, because I used to train in Colorado Springs when I was in the Army, and we would be out jogging around in 30 or 40 degree weather, and we would not be allowed to be wearing our tops or our bottoms. So we would have, if you guys have ever seen like the skimpy gray shorts they used to wear in the Army, and then the skimpy gray little sweatshirts that you could, or just regular shirts that you could wear, like I had like nothing on, and I'd be out there running. And actually guys would get injured if you didn't stretch before and then stretch correctly after running. You could cause a lot of problems as well for yourself. So anyway, so let's say verify that we're using that repository. So check there, and I see apt.grafana.com is now in my update path, so it's getting the metadata for that. Good. And then I say, can I see Grafana in the repository list? Yes. And then can you search for the package Promtail and then verify that it comes from the Grafana repository? And the answer is, I see it. And then down here, I see that it's coming from app sources Grafana. And I say, what is the homepage? The homepage is grafana.com/Loki. And then what is the apt-source? And that is grafana.com. We know that. And then what is the description of that tool? It is an agent which ships the contents of local logs to a private Grafana Loki instance or Grafana cloud. By the way, I have a lab that shows you how to use Promtail and Loki. Once we hit this, let's make sure. Look at you learning Linux. I gotta fix that, guys. That's an error. So my finish is right here. Look at you learning Linux. You used the tools apt and DPKG to inspect current software in your system. You then added and removed software from predefined repositories. Then you added a trusted repository. You added and trusted a repository. You added and trusted a repository to inspect software that you could add to your system from a third-party source, right? This is a third-party registry. That's one way to think of it. To inspect software that you could add to your system from a third-party source. Yep. All right, let's add that, and then we'll say updated lab and updated items. Send it. If I come back over here, back out of the labs, get out of there. Come on. Back up one more. We'll see here that it's about to update. It's actually syncing right now. And then we'll see that it's synced right now in the system. And then that lab, I always, after I do this, go check at least one more time to go in there. And let's go look at our lab. Right here, software and package management. Yeah, so the question, Mr. Max said, do you have any idea how Killercoda and similar platforms even operate? Where does the money come from? Okay, so Mr. Mac, I can tell you that. I mean, 60 minutes is quite generous, and there's no day limit. Yeah. So, Mr. Mac, the guy, Kim Woosterkamp, who started this, he does obviously have a paid-for version for people that are, like, deep in and very serious. But the other side of Killercoda, and you know this if you know Kim Woosterkamp, is killer.sh, Killer Shell. And Killer Shell is something that you can either buy individually, or you get them when you buy, like if you buy an LFCS, like you take your CKA or your CKAD cert. And what these are is they are prep scenarios. So you drop in here, and it gives you like 48 hours in an exam environment, and it asks you questions, and it's very similar to the actual CKA certification, right? You can go log in to Killer Shell, and I can go in with, let's say, my Google, and you can see ones that I've done before in here, right? And I think, do I have access to ones that I've already done before? Oh, we can like show old records and see other ones that I've done. Like when I went and got my CKA and my CKAD, I could go in here and I could go look at these. But you are in an environment that looks a lot like this, except it's very set up, like it's almost like their own custom labs. And then it gets you ready. And you say, well, how much are one of these? Well, I think you can buy them. Like if I went to go buy one of these, I want to say they're like 8 EU or 8 U, I don't know what that European cost is. So they're like $12 for like 2 runs of the lab. But you get like 48 hours in the lab. So you can go do like look, let's say I wanted to go buy the CKS one. Hold on. Let's go look. So here's the Killercoda. Oh, so here's the Killercoda Killer Shell ones. I think these are all the free version of them. Yeah, this is all the free stuff. And then, hold on. Info. Yeah, same team behind both. So if you're wondering, like, the Killer Shell is like the paid for, really, you're right on the edge of getting ready to go take that test. Whereas the Killercoda stuff is like all the open source community and people that want to build these things. Yeah, their mock exam is pretty good. I liked their CKA stuff. Got me ready for CKA and CKAD. I pivoted from CKA to CKAD in the same month, and it was pretty good. Yeah. So let's go check our lab one more time. System administrator. These should all be good. Yep. And then we come up here, apt. All that should be good. Yep. Don't see any errors. You've used DPKG. And I said when you did that, do that. Good. And then look at you learning Linux. You use the tools apt and DPKG to inspect current software in your system. You then added and removed software from predefined repositories. Then you, or pre-configured would also be a good way. Like basically it came out of the box that way. Then you added and trusted a third-party repository to inspect software that you could add to your system from a third-party source. Boom. Albert OG, do I have the same cert stuff for Red Hat? No, I don't, but I have a lot of guys in the server that have Red Hat certs. I actually don't hold any Red Hat certs. I've been doing Red Hat my whole career, and I don't have any of their certs, so it's actually funny. All of my certs revolve around security. Like I have CISSP and CCSP, and then AWS. I have 5 of the AWS certs. But no, I don't have any Linux-based certs in my wheelhouse. I have Terraform and Vault as associate certs, although those have lapsed now because I didn't really keep up on them after the whole HashiCorp debacle. So there's that. Yeah. But look, I mean, like Red Hat certs are good. Anything here that shows that you can do the work, I think is really valuable for you guys. So people that are trying to break into the industry, get any cert you can. It's the same thing I tell you guys with like in our Discord. If you go drop down to like beginner start here, there are certs that are not directly Linux related. Like there's an API cert that's free, and we have a really cool study guide. There's Chaos Engineering, which is more for like your site reliability engineers. There's process improvement stuff down here. There's IPv6 stuff, which is not directly related to Linux, but Linux touches it, right? And then there's Certified in Cybersecurity, which has, these are all free certs still right now. By the way, we just hit 12 o'clock, so the writer's room has started. So you guys could go drop down in here with some of the different people that are working in the writer's room if you wanted to get involved with the Linux Systems Administration course, right? So we have a Linux sysadmin course that gives a cool little cert as well. It's our own little cert, but it's the Professional Linux Users Group 16-week admin course. Takes about 10 hours a week to do it, so it's a lot of stuff. Anyways, how's Ranger doing? Wait a minute, that's updating. Ranger has not moved. Is he breathing still? Yeah, he's breathing. I can see him breathing. I worry about that dog, guys. He's old. I worry about him. He's had breakfast, though, so he should be good. I'll go down and give him a treat here in a little bit. But, man, he's Ranger, you know. That's Ranger being Ranger. All right. So anybody that's not been around before for this is the process I use to build labs out in Killercoda. And we just added that lab. So one thing we do with our labs is I always then go in here and I drop these into our Discord under like Killercoda labs. And then I say something like this. I say new lab up for testing. And then people can do anything they want. I always remove this thing that's going to pop up. I hate that. Boom. But now people can go and check those labs out, the new labs, right? So that they can see. You know, one, I like when you guys check things and man, is this thing busted? Hold on. One, I really like when you guys error check for me. You know, make sure everything's kind of working down there. Yeah, I was wondering about that. My stupid closed captioning wasn't working, so it's better now. All right. What do we got? It's 12:01 my time, so I'll probably go find. Oh, maybe I'll go grab some food real quick, but. You guys are always welcome to hang out. I haven't been raided by anybody in a while, right? Okay. Make sure I haven't been raided by anybody. But yeah, go check those out. Check the Discord out. Again, Discord's free. I don't even know how to charge people for that, but I'm not going to be charging people for that. The goal is to get better and know how these systems work, because there's a good path for a good career that pays you well. to get into, getting into the space, guys. Like there's a lot of value to this. Wrap the links in Discord and you won't have to close the URLs. Interesting. You won't have to close it. I never even thought about that. Yeah, I probably could do that. Also, I got to find something. Maybe I'll watch something. The wife's coming home from Utah. She's actually on a plane right now. Wrap the links using backticks. Oh, okay. All right. And then I won't have to close that. Nice. I did not know that. That's a nice little trick. Yeah, I've used Discord for a long time, and I don't know all the cool tricks, but that's a good one. I like that. All right. Here's what we're going to do, guys. We just hit 3 hours. Man, I'm tired. I'm gonna raid somebody on the Twitch side of things. Yeah, Robdom, there's stuff like that where people can charge money, but I want our Discord to be a place people can hang out, just like, I don't want to call it like a safe space, but like I want it to be a place where you can come and ask questions and not just have all the engineers just talk shit and be like, "Oh, we're the smartest people on the planet." Well, being the smartest guy on the planet is almost irrelevant, right? Because I know all kinds of smart people that never did anything. So it's like being smart is almost just completely irrelevant to the whole process. So, all right, let's go find somebody to raid over on the Twitch side. YouTube side, just come hang out with us down in Discord and you have a good time. Let's go raid. We're going to raid Rossberger. If you guys don't know Rossberger, he's pretty high energy. He's playing video games right now, but I like to go hang out in there. I'll probably hang out in his stream for a little bit. Our raid message for people that are raiding with me is do all the Linux. And other than that, I will see some of you guys. Tomorrow is all labs. We do all labs on Sundays. So I'll be on there and we'll be doing stuff. All right. Take care, everybody.